Hey, good morning. Wednesday morning. About 13, 14, 15, something, I don't know. Well, uh, got my little comrade, Olaf over here. He's my little liberal opponent or socialist opponent that believes in dreams. That, well, William Barr said, investigations are going to go on into Epstein. They're going to go in to find out how he committed suicide. We've heard witnesses and testimonies talk about, one fellow that was behind bars had spent time in there himself. Said it's literally impossible for a man to take his life in that place. Said he's been there, So I don't know, we know a lot of big names have said, well, the threat's gone. They rode the Lolita Express and or whatever it was, and they've been down Orgy Island probably, and well, we're seeing pictures on the news now. On Fox. I don't know how many others are showing. I know the conservatives probably will, but there's not going to be too many these liberal medias, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and New York Times, and Washington Post, and West Virginia's Charleston Gazette. They're not going to show them until it's absolutely imperative in order to keep some kind of credibility up after all this garbage and propaganda they push. They're not going to show it until they absolutely have to, if then. But Barr says the investigation's going on. It was a big child trafficking thing, sexual trafficking, and they show pictures. Some of these girls, man, I'm telling you, some of these girls don't look like her. God, they don't look like they're 10, 11 years old. I seen faces about 3 or 4, 2 or 3 on Fox. And I'm serious, they don't look like they're 10, 11 years old. And, but anyway, it needs to continue. I think about that, and I think about the Clintons are back smiling as someone was showing something yesterday I seen. It might have been on Roku. I watched it and said Clintons was gone to a funeral for a friend or something or another, and then when they're all smiles and everything else, and people screaming, hey, all this stuff, and they're all smiles, and anyway, whoever this was showing it, it just looks like their old friend Jeffrey's gone. You'd think people would be more torn up. But I don't know. But we've seen reports that Epstein said he had proof or evidence of a lot of powerful people. People have been down the road with him, I guess. Bill Clinton said they'd only been on there 4 times, and he helped. He said he said he really didn't know Epstein that well or something or another, and come to find out Epstein had helped them actually set up the Clinton Foundation. So they knew more about him than that. But Bill says he'd only been there 4 times, but flight logs from the Lolita Express said he'd been on there 26, 27 times. The stewardess that worked on the Lolita Express, she said there's children on that airplane basically all the time. Young kids, young girls on there basically all the time. Said it was a bedroom on it, and you know, you don't know. It's but it needs to be. It needs something needs to be done with it. You know, people with big money willing to spend big money just to go for that sexual ecstasy. You know, something needs to be done with it. You know, I look at this and I think of what was it, Al Capone. They knew he was tied in with murders and all this garbage, everything in the world, but what did they get him on? They got him on tax evasion. Finally got him off the streets, locked him up, got him on tax evasion. And I look at Bill and Hillary Clinton and all the garbage that they've been down and the people that's died that's been around them. And I look, well, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one that's gonna put them behind bars where they need to be. Or hopefully it'll go bigger than that, because we know Hillary is already guilty of a lot of stuff through the State Department and everything. They need to make an example of them. They really do. They need to be made an example of. Try to get justice walking forward with his head up again, you know, and give people a chance, you know. I've seen the injustice that's been pushed upon me. I've seen it personally. I know what happens when people use the system because of its slack, because of its excuses that's been given to people through the system. And I've had that injustice pushed upon me. You know, I've seen it personally. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. Okay? Justice has got to be able to hold her head up high and walk forward again, people. We don't have a choice. We do not have a choice. Maybe this will take Clintons down, and this is the thing. It ain't going to be just the Clintons. We know now that Barack Obama was behind all this spying and all this other garbage that went on. James Clapper said Obama was a dictionary definition of spying. Is what Clapper said about Obama. Said what Obama done was dictionary definition of spying, and on a campaign, and that's against the law. Yeah, that sure they're going to twist the words and say, well, we had reason to believe. But see, we're finding out everything else. The reasons to believe was collusion was actually twisted from what they were, or what they actually were, to let the spying go forward. They didn't tell the truth. They lied to the FISA judges in order to get that to go through. They didn't give him all the information. They didn't tell him that the dossier was a lie, that it cannot be verified, that it just wasn't sound. But yet they pushed the FISA, what was it, 3 or 4 times? They went to the FISA judges to get them to let that go through. See, this is the thing. These Hillary Clinton, these liberals and socialists, their rallies were less than mediocre in show up or show out, you know, and people come out, you know. They were mediocre. Some of them a lot less than mediocre. Trump was packing houses, man. He even had them standing down the sidewalks wanting to get in, but the fire marshals and stuff said, no, that's all you can do. You can't put no more in there. That's it. You know, they seen this happening. These liberals and socialists seen this happening back in 15 and 16. They've seen this happening. Trump packing houses. They knew he had garnered the population. They knew the majority was coming out to see him. They knew that Hillary and Bill and Obama and others, what really, man, just screwed them up, man, was when they got in and the FBI and DOJ and these people did not investigate Hillary's email server and stuff properly. America's seen it. They seen the crime of these people setting up. That's what screwed them. That's what actually screwed them. They screwed themselves, man. They're criminals. Oh, they've tried to play it down. John Brennan's trying to say, well, maybe I received some bad information. John Brennan was a big voice, son, in pushing that false narrative. James Clapper made excuses, lied to American people, lied to the oversight committee. James Comey done his little falsifying information and stuff, you know, all this stuff, and he talked about his treachery actually when he went in to talk to Trump. Then he'd come out away from the meeting with Trump at the White House. He'd come out, man, and he'd spill this information out, and it ended up on the news. That's called leaking. It's against the law. They screwed themselves. Those people are in trouble. They're in trouble. You know, if justice is served, they've had to lick. And I'll be honest with you, I'd put them down. I wouldn't lock them up. I'd put them down. I'd put them down. People are going to have to realize. You cannot commit crimes against the American people, society, humanity. You cannot commit crimes against godly, moral values and justice and walk around scot-free. They have to realize that. There need to be some examples made of those people. But there's so much stuff that's went on. It's rot. You know, it's like I believe it was last video I talked about, you know, about these people, the things that they had done, and the only reason they're staying, well, I've said it on other videos too, the only reason they're staying in power is because as long as they can keep the propaganda flowing. Listen, CNN, MSNBC, and others, they have lied to the American people for 10 friggin' years. They've lied to the American people for 10 years. They've even basically bragged about letting Obama lie, CNN did, letting him lie and not calling his hand. I seen reports, it's been 3-4 years ago now, reports that Obama had actually paid some CNN newscasters, you know. Right now, there's a lot riding on how honorable William Barr is as AG. Right now, it's relying on him on whether he will stick to his guns and see that justice is carried out. And if he'll do that, we have a chance of bringing this nation back into a place of honor and respect. But, you know, I get concerned when I see some of this stuff that's being said and done, you know. We know the crime is there. We know they committed crimes. We know they lied to the American people. Bill Clinton, you know, I talked to a fella back years ago, or it's been probably, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago. Talked to him. I was working, hauling coal down here, and he talked about, you know, Bill Clinton, you know, he got us out of debt, and he did. But, you know, Bill Clinton also done something else. Bill Clinton showed the rest of the crowd that you could lie to the American people and get by with it. Bill Clinton was basically the voice that opened the door to lies and treachery with enough excuse to walk scot-free from it. And you look what's taken place since. People, this Democratic Party, it is one more screwed up mess, man. It is one more screwed up mess. Every damnable thing you can think of is going on over there now. But, we'll see. As it stands right now, Donald Trump is basically a shoe-in to the office a second term, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. He's done tremendous things for this nation. To be down the road of poop and hard knocks, he's done tremendous things to bring this nation back out as far as it's come. He really has. So, as it stands right now, he'll have my vote. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. I've seen him talking on Fox News there a while ago. I was talking about the elections, how they were going to working toward the security of the elections. Listen, there was millions of votes cast, man. Millions of votes cast for liberal, socialist people in the last 3 or 4 years or more. No longer than that. Well, Obama, he had a lot of false votes cast for him too. But millions of votes were cast illegally. Millions of them. And hopefully they'll get that stuff cut back. Because we got perverts in our government. We got perverts walking the street that want to steal our country. They have corrupted themselves. They have listened to the voice of lies, the voice of treason, the voice of treachery, the voices of vulgarity. They've listened to every damnable thing coming and going. And they're trying to steal our nation. They're trying to steal the wealth and the heritage of your families and your bloodlines. Those people have committed themselves to perversions. They have committed themselves to being a pervert. I'm not judging them. They done it themselves. They have committed themselves to it, and they show no remorse. They show no shame. They show no guilt. They committed their own selves to the shame and the road, the path of poop and lie that they're walking down. They done it themselves. You've got to realize who these people are. These people are the enemy of society. They are the enemy of mankind. Listen, anybody that would commit themselves to the crime that brings the pain and the shame and the hurt upon other people, that person that committed themselves to it, they are a danger to society. Hitler was a danger. Stalin was a danger. Who was the China leader? Mao, was it? Anybody that commit themselves to the pain and the shame in others, to committing themselves to causing that on others, they are a danger to society. El Chapo, he's a danger to society, man. He gave billions of dollars. He made money, big, huge amounts of money, corrupting the lives of people, destroying people. There's people out there laying in graves today. Laying in graves today because El Chapo pushed drugs into their system. Well, if it wasn't him, somebody else. That's a pitiful excuse. If you take part in it, then you're as guilty as their blood and their death as anybody else. See, that's what these liberals and socialists, that's what they don't want you to recognize. See, God told me. He told me or showed me through Isaiah 32, Old Testament Bible, verses 5 through 8, what the liberal will do, what the fool, the churl will do. You have to read it and understand. He showed me what to do. Then later on, he spoke to me one word when I wouldn't even think about this. The word he spoke was legitimacy. I just enjoying my breakfast one morning, just a clear mind, man. Sitting on the cool of my side porch with screened in and just wolfing my breakfast down with a clear mind. I was just enjoying it. And man, God spoke that one word to me: legitimacy. Legitimacy. It kind of threw me for just a little bit of loop there for a little, and I began to ponder that word. And as I went through the day, I'd ponder it and just going about what I was doing and what it was. It was like he was, like a dentist feels a tooth. He'll go in there, he'll grind that old bad spot out, after he's numbed it. He'll grind it out, and then he'll take it and dry it out, with his little wire guns, dry it out, and then he'll take he'll make up this little old paste or filling stuff, and he'll pack that filling in there, and he get it out and get it to where it looks real good and all this stuff. And then he's got this little stuff. I don't know if it's enamel or what it is, some kind of little film, thin, kind of tough looking stuff, and he'll take it and he'll cut him a little piece of that, and he'll take it and he'll put it over that cap or that filling. He'll put it over there, and then he'll take this little blue light, ultraviolet light or something. He'll take that little blue light, and it does something to it. I don't know what it is, but it does something. It puts a seal on that filling. That's what God was doing. He was putting a seal on the filling that I could use my teeth. He was putting a seal on what he had been showing me. John, the liberals, the churl, the fools, these people are treacherous. But they have found legitimacy in the minds of people. They have garnered backing because of the corruption that lives in the hearts and minds and spirit and soul of people. They found backing. They found legitimacy in the people that are corrupted as they are. That's what the Bible says about the liberal. It says the liberal stays in power because people that do or live corruption support him. He gives them excuse, they support him. These people, these perversions that have taken the lives of these people, they have used those perversions and they've garnered legitimacy from those that live in the perversions as they do. So here we are. We're gaining ground. President Trump, he's been exactly what God said he would be. God didn't tell us he'd be perfect, but he'd be a fearless man, and he has, man. Well, it's funny sometimes. Sometimes it looks like he just keeps his mouth shut in certain areas until someone, some idiot, comes up and they'll say, "Well, President Trump is fault of this." Then he opens the door for him to fire back more, and he hits Twitter. It's funny. It's funny, but now that's what God had said through one prophet. He said he'd give us a man, a fearless man. A man, listen, back in 2011, a prophet lived down in Florida, and he was a retired firefighter, fire engine, all this stuff. But anyway, he said he was in his room one day doing something, and the TV was on in another room. And while he's doing this thing, whatever he was doing, he said the Lord spoke to him and said, "You're hearing the voice of a president." Think of that one. You're hearing the voice of a president. He quit what he was doing and walked around the wall or door and looked in this other room. Television playing. There's Donald Trump talking on television. This is 2011, man. 2011. Donald Trump was talking on television. This is what, 4 or 5 years before Trump decided to go ahead and throw his name in the ring, to run. Wow. But they're not the only ones. Others have done it, Trump wasn't my pick. I knew Ted Cruz as a Christian, and I knew that he had a strong, godly, moral background with him, and he was my pick. But I can't say Ted Cruz would have been the right man for the job. But we see now that Donald Trump is the right man for the job. People had prayed for years, God, get us out of this friggin' sewer that we're wading through in this nation. God, get us out of this. And God sent us a warrior. Perfect? No. No, not perfect. How many of us have been perfect? Very precious few, if any. But, you know, but he's the right man for the job. Ted's backing him, man, and a lot of stuff, and that's good because he needs the godly moral support and stuff. And hey, just throwing a few things out there this morning and try to help some of you that just you've listened to CNN and NBC and ABC and CBS and PBS and MSNBC and New York Times and Washington Post and West Virginia's Charleston Gazette, and you've listened to all these different news outlets, you know, and they spit out all this stuff about how glorious Obama was and Trump as a racist, and they went all down this path with you. They've done it for years now, and you know, I'm just trying to help you to realize, people, liberal thinking is a lie. Liberal thinking is the lie that sets up the perpetration of socialist cruelty upon people. Liberal thinking is a danger to you. It's a danger to your family. It's a danger to your bloodline. It's a danger to your cousins and your aunts and your uncles' ankles. Well, it's a danger to your ankles too, I guess. But it's a danger. It's a danger to your neighbors. It's a danger to their families. It's a danger to their bloodlines. It's liberal thinking is a pitiful excuse for atrocities that can be committed against others. I've told you, and if you'll step back a few steps and you'll look over the scene of what's taken place in America for the last 10 years, if you'll just step back and just look over the whole scenario, and you'll see that I'm telling you the truth. Liberal thinking carries the seed of chaos and anarchy. Well, I'm gonna back this down a little bit. I've been here long enough. It looks like 27 minutes already, going on 28 minutes. Wow. I mean, I could sit here and probably rattle on for hours as things come to mind, but nobody wants to watch an old four-eyed ignorant hillbilly that long. I love you. God loves you. He loves you with an endless love, man, that just, it's unmatchable. It's unmatchable. Those of us that love him, we're trying to move toward that unmatched love. That's a desire within us. Sometimes we're not always seeking that desire, but that is a desire within us. Hope you have a good, find grace in God's eyes, find mercy in his eyes, and find favor.